A player from the old school I did want to ask about is obviously Meteos, another massive personality in the early days. I will say I've known a lot of his teammates in his teams and the different teams he's been on. And what I'll say is this, in some ways, I don't know if he'll fuck with this reference or not, but to me, he almost sounds a little bit like a Dennis Rodman character. And I say that because if people know, Dennis Rodman was like unique at what he was really good at. And if you could get him to work within those parameters, you could have the best team. He could be the best. But he also was someone where you wouldn't put him on just any random team. You wouldn't put him with any random set of players. You'd need to sort of like create a space in which he can be Dennis Rodman, but at the same time be part of the team. And I've always got the sense with Meteos that like he is someone who has a different vision perhaps on like how much he should grind or what his relationship with other teammates is. And I won't say, I'm not trying to paint him as like a toxic teammate. I would just say he's someone that it's just a little bit trickier maybe. You maybe need to have the right circumstances. What would you say the back and forth with Meteos was like? Because people will know he was in the team and he was out of the team, then he came back again. And overall, he did play for the team for a number of years, was a great player, but I would just say he was in other orgs where similar things happened. He came in and out of the lineup, was benched sometimes. So who was Meteos when he was in Cloud9?
Meteos, like he joined Cloud9 in our infancy, and it was more fun than work at that time. So he became I became very close with him as a friend, on more than just a player for me. And I would say he definitely is a very unique player in his play style, and it's really important that he has a good friendly relationship with his players to be for him to get for you to get the most out of him. He is probably one of the smartest players I've ever worked with. He's got an incredible vision of the game and how it should work. And I think that when you're someone like that, I think one of the difficulties is like if you're working with players that don't have that vision, it can be really frustrating to work with them because he's playing like chess when everyone else is playing checkers. He's thinking way more about the game, and then having to try to explain that to everyone around you all the time, trying to be if he has to be in a situation where he has to be the coach and the teacher at the same time as being a player, it's a really hard position to be in. So he needs to be around players that can buy into that or are smart enough to be on the same level. Otherwise, I think it can be really frustrating. I think throwing him around like four rookies is probably a really difficult situation unless they completely just listen to him. But he definitely, you could see that when I gave him, he basically was with me. We did the roster change to bring on Jensen, and I think he felt felt a bit personally attacked by some of his teammates about that happening, because people thought that he seems frustrated with Hai a lot. He must be the reason why Hai isn't on the team anymore. And I could just tell you, for the record, straight up, he actually was against the change. But it was really unfortunate that he felt and he may have gotten some of that pressure, and that hurt his relationship with the other players. And the team was very unhappy, functionally, when that first change happened. And when he saw that he couldn't lead that team without Hai, it was his suggestion that Jack, can you bring back Hai, have him run jungle so we can.
Oh, that's cool. He actually suggested that.
Yeah,
right.
It was him, and he said, bring him back because we're not working, we're not functioning, we're not communicating, and I'm feeling really bad about that. And I think that Hai could come in and actually do a better job than me, not because he's a better jungler than me, but because I think the team will work as a team. And literally, Hai's very first scrim, it was a different team. All of a sudden, it was functioning based on the communication, and he's like, "I'm out, dude. I'm gonna stream," and that was brutal. But it was also incredibly, I think, caring for his teammates and for the team to realize that he needed to step down. So he started streaming a lot, and he had actually his stream was getting numbers at that time. It was he was doing really well, and Phoenix 1 was just at the same time suffering really bad, and they needed a jungler, and I can't remember why. Maybe a jungler left. I can't remember the actual history, but something happened, and Rob Moore, the owner of Phoenix 1, hit me up. He's like, "Hey, could Meteos play for me?" And I'm like, "I'll ask him." And Meteos like, "Sure, I'm down." And his first game back was against us, against Cloud9,
right?
And he destroyed us, and I was so pissed. I was like, "God damn it, dude! Are you serious? I trade you in the first game, you come out and just smash us." It actually killed me because the guy is an incredible player, and like in the right circumstances, he can really move things for teams. And I think I don't think really any team was able to put together 4 other guys and a coach that got the best out of him. And that's disappointing. But I think that's just the reality. And I think it's possible that unfortunately I don't know traditional sports as well as I should, but this Rodman guy sounds like it could be something similar where like he needed the correct teammates and the correct like culture to get the best out of him. I think that's appropriate for Will.
One player that it's funny because this is one where absolutely all the people who were the superstars of Cloud9 was salty as fuck when finally Sneaky played his last game in Cloud9. And it was even maybe implied, I'm not sure if it's towards you guys, but it was even implied he thought maybe it was like, wasn't the right way it was handled at the end. One thing I would say about this is the player I personally, look, if I'm Thorin on a talk show, I probably spent the last 4 years of his career flaming Sneaky and saying like, you should replace him with like a superstar of a Korean or get like the best European ADC, bring in my boy Forgiven or something. Some of the rumors I heard over the years, right? You stuck with this player a long time. He was in the team for like 7 straight years or something, might have been 8 or something. What would you say about the Sneaky angle? Because like essentially, wasn't this another player where there was years where a lot of the community was sort of like, should he still be there, or is he washed, or is he good or not? And I know he always thought he was good the whole way. He's another one of those guys that has that mindset where the fans just don't see what he's doing, or there's nuance to how he was laying in or something. What would you say the Sneaky storyline is?
God, because it's so long. There's chapters, right?
Okay.
And I think with Sneaky, he is an incredibly good teammate in that he never rages on teammates. He no matter how bad things get bad in a game, he's able to raise like the mood of the team to get people in the if it's a best of 5, he can make, even after a crushing loss, he can start making the other guys laugh and start thinking about the next game. And inside the game, he's always looking for angles. Like I think Double once said it that like basically like with low resources, Sneaky is always dangerous. Like when it comes to mid game, and that's something like a superpower of his. He's able to do so much with so little. Between him having that in-game personality and out-of-game personality, plus his ability to do more with less, he's been extremely valuable for us. Or was extremely valuable for us over the time. But I think like the reason why Sneaky left the team is a lot in line with what I was saying earlier, where every member on the team needs to look to the guy next to them and feeling like they're putting in as much time as them. And at the end of our 2019 run, which was probably our worst offseason that we've ever had, where I specifically remember like after we got eliminated at Worlds in Paris, I think it was in Paris, when it was in Germany, and I sit down with Sven Skaren because I always have like a post Worlds interview with each player, and I asked Dennis Sven Skaren, like, so what changes do we need to make for this team to make it better? And he's like, well, fire everybody. I want the coach gone. I want every player gone, and you're gonna have a really tough offseason, Jack. And I'm like, oh my god. I remember my stomach just like dropped. He's like, I'm sorry, it's gonna be rough. I'm like, oh my god, what's going on? So I was just literally interviewing with every player, trying to figure out who still wants to be here, who still believes in what we're doing. How do we go from here? And the first player that told me like I don't want to go anywhere was Blabber. He's like, but I don't want to share the stage with Dennis anymore. No more Sven Skaren, no more swapping. But I'm good enough, Jack, to be your guy. And if you commit to me, then I'll commit to rebuild with you. And Niski was like, I just want a job, man. Like I don't have any problems with anybody, but I want to make sure that I have a job. And then I talked with Licorice, and Licorice was like, if we make some pretty big changes in the team, which was like, I want to replace the coach, I want to replace our bot lane, I don't know what the hell's going down there. At that point, I finally had a core. I had 3 guys that still wanted to play, which was Licorice, Blabber, and Niski. And from there, we started optimizing on like, what's the team you want to build? What's the culture you want to have? What are the things that you need? And with our bot lane, there was this huge question mark because things weren't working well with Zazel and Sneaky. They're getting punished like pretty bad in most of our scrims. And there also was concerns about like lack of focus on League because they were both playing a lot of other games, Path of Exile and some other games. And they wanted players that were grinders. They wanted players that were putting in as much solo queue as possible. So we started like just, thinking about like, would you rather have this teammate who grinds really hard, which would be like, Jesper, like Sven, like you look at him, the guy is like the hardest grinder in the West as far as I can tell. And we started building a team that was putting in tremendous work. And we saw Vulcan was possibly available for a buyout that kind of fit in line with what we're looking to build. And what it came down to is like when we started constructing this roster, they didn't believe in our bot lane at all, and they wanted to change there. They weren't sure if it was it a Sneaky problem, was it a Zazel problem, but they knew they didn't want to play again with that as a question mark anymore. And I think like I'm sure I could have done like the breaking that news better, and I think that when I wasn't able to specifically identify problems for Sneaky on why we were making this change, that was really, really painful for him. Especially when it was like, hey, it's not just a Jack decision. This is what your teammates are constructing to me to do. I think it was just super painful. I honestly don't know how I could have done it.
Sure.
Better. It's really hard news to get when you've been with a team for a super long time and he's been really dedicated. But at the same time, like my my promise, like to all of my players is that when I recognize that there's a problem, we're not the best team we can be, that I'm going to fix it and I'm going to come through on that. And so that was my obligation to these players, and that was the decision we made, and it sucked. It was definitely the hardest benching I ever had to do. And I think like since then, like me and Sneaky's relationship is good now. Like he's helped us out. He comes to our booth basically at every LCS finals now. He spends time with us, makes content with us, and he recognizes now that there's been some time away that it was like not we hate you, Sneaky. It was like this is what the team was really wanting, and it definitely wasn't a Jack saying you're out of here. It was a whole group decision on what we made, and I think it helped that we also just absolutely destroyed that spring to like just show that what we were doing actually had some impact. And I think there was a bit of justice in there that it was also the first Worlds we never qualified for when there was no Sneaky. So there was something about that no Sneaky or no Worlds thing that was true.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.